Hi everyone, Ian Aldridge here from Progressive Legal CPD. We're here talking today with Jeremy Streten. We're really excited to have Jeremy today, and we've been trying to wrangle him for quite some time now because he's got such an amazing experience working both in the law, as a lawyer, as a law firm owner, and now helping other lawyers as well with their law firms and their clients. We're extremely excited today to hear about what Jeremy's got to say for the 5 key metrics to grow your law firm. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot out of it as well today just by doing this too. Just by way of intro, Jeremy set up Streten Mason's Lawyers. I come out to 10 years ago now, helped thousands of clients, business clients from a range of different practice areas, all front end to back end, with all sorts of business legal advice and documents, and so that 10 years of experience as a owner of a firm is amazing. He's also written a book 5 years ago now on the business legal life cycle. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but basically you're finding that all these businesses needed very similar advice and documents at various stages in their life cycle, and found that much would depend on where they were, where the businesses were in their particular life cycle of what the particular documents and advice they needed at that point in time, and also what was coming up as well, for a law firm to realize and be on the front foot with their clients to see where they were, what they usually need at this point in time, what they need to do if they to tie up all those things if they haven't done that already, and then what they need to look forward to, and scope for advice in the near future.
Yep.
Now, Jeremy also, apart from running a successful law firm, also now helps business owners, law firm owners, to with helping them scale and become better and more efficient law firms. And we're going to hear at least sort of 5 key metrics today. I'm sure it's probably going to be one of many webinars we do with Jeremy because he's a font of knowledge, but we're just starting off today with the sort of 5 key metrics. I'll hand it over to you, Jeremy, of what the agenda is for today.
Yep, no worries. Thanks, Ian, and good explanation for the life cycle. That's that's perfect. So well done.
You can see I read it.
That's right. That's all good. All right, so I'll just share my screen. Can you see that slide there, Ian?
Can do.
Make sure. Excellent. So yeah, today's talk is going to be about the 5 key metrics to grow your law firm. Normally I do a bit of an introduction about myself, but Ian's kind of said it all, so I'll move on. So just firstly, for anyone with this talk, there's an accompanying workbook, which is a PDF, 5 key metrics to grow your law firm. So please, I'm going to refer to that as we're going. So please download that. You'll see there's some links there, my email address and that as well. But I'll refer to this as we go. So if you haven't already, print out a copy of it so that you can do some of the exercises as we go along. So the first thing I wanted to start with was this statistic. And this is the statistic that 81% of all people in legal jobs are bored at work. That shocked me when I found that out, but then when I really thought about it, I thought actually it doesn't shock me too much. And I think it's really sad that people just aren't engaged in business as much as they used to be. So this was from 2019. So, we're recording this in October 2020 we're in the middle of the Corona crisis. And so that could be more, it could be less. But in 2019, 81% of all people surveyed in legal jobs were bored at work. And I found that really shocking. And so I wanted to share that because what we're going to talk about today is the 5 key metrics, and then also some information about probably why I see that's the case and what we can do about that to help get more engagement within our firms. So I'm going to talk about 3 key areas, the 5 key metrics that you need to grow your law firm. I'm going to talk about how to take back control of your time. So often, when I'm helping, especially law firm owners and other professional business owners, they're being controlled, whether it's their clients, their employees, or just just their work is controlling them. And I want to show you a technique that I use to take back control of my time. You know, as Ian said, I do lots of different things, and it's really, you know, a lot of people say, how do you manage your time? How are you doing all that stuff? And I'll show you how I do that. And then I'm going to talk about delegation as opposed to abdication. And I'm going to show you why, you know, in that section, I'm going to talk about why I think that this 81% of people are bored in legal jobs and what we can do about that. So let's start off with the 5 key metrics that you need to know to grow your law firm. So in the workbook, if I bring that up, on the second page is this table, which mirrors this table here in the slides. And what I'd encourage you to do is I'm going to go through an example of what the metrics are and how they can be used to grow your firm. If you know the numbers, I'd encourage you to actually put your own numbers in. So, yeah, we're in October 2020. So you might have your 2020 numbers, you know, up to date, and you could use those. But I want to show you really these 5 key metrics and what you can do, and I'll talk about this in a minute, what you can do to actually increase those metrics and how you can use that to grow your firm. So in the first box here, the first one are your leads. So in the workbook, you would put that in number 1 there. So leads are the work that comes to you that you don't necessarily do. So a lead might be a client coming and asking for a quote for a bit of work. It might be an accountant ringing you up and saying, hey, listen, I've got a client that needs some work. Whatever it is for you, wherever your work comes from, a lead is when someone contacts you to ask about doing your work. And leads are really important and something that's often missed in business because people don't track those leads. And so understanding where your leads come from is really, really important. And it's a metric that you can use to increase your business. So that's what leads are. If you don't know what leads are, I'm happy to have a chat to you about how you actually go about measuring those. And then the second key metric is conversion percentage. So that's the percentage of those leads that come to you that you convert into clients. So let me give you an example. Let's say in 2019 you had 750 leads that came into your business. If you convert, say, 60% of those, that will tell you how many new clients you had in the business. So I'm just using a calculator on the side here because I can't do that maths in my head. But if you had 60% conversion rate of 750 clients, that's 450 clients. Say if you had, I don't know, 200 existing clients, that would then give you 650 clients. Now, these are really important metrics to understand what work's coming into your business and what you're converting, because I'll show an example in a moment of if you increase those metrics, if you focus on your work in your business on increasing those metrics, you can actually really increase the revenue of your business in really cool ways. And yeah, when I first learned this, it was really an eye-opening thing for me to see how the business can generate. So so they're the first 2 metrics. The third metric is average, and I'll $ sale. So your average dollar sale, that goes in here down in number 3. So what's your average dollar sale? Then the 4th metric is your number of transactions. So this is the amount of times that your clients are using your services. And so let's just put in a figure of $1,200 as an average dollar sale. And let's put in that we do 1 transaction per client per year. So that's 650. When you have those numbers, so you got 650 clients at $1,200. The revenue that you do is quite good. It'd be 780,000. By knowing these metrics, you can start to see how, if you make little changes, you can actually increase the annual revenue. So from here, we've got our first 4 metrics. We've got our leads, we've got our conversion percentage, we've got our average dollar sale, and our number of transactions, and we can go that we get $780,000 in annual revenue. The last key metric is your profit percentage. So of all your income, how much money are you actually taking? Because there are so many businesses out there that are earning $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, but their profit percentage is like 5% or 2%, or it's really low, and the business owner's not taking anything back. So let's say with this,
and what do they say? Revenue's vanity and profit sanity.
That's right, and cash is king. Absolutely. So let's say that this business has a profit percentage of 20%. Now, in a law firm, it should be higher, but let's just say for that example. With those metrics, which is quite a typical professional service firm, these days, is about the owner should be taking about $156,000 in profit. Now, why these are important to understand, I said before, was if you just increase these by as little as 10%, the profit that you get at the end of the day, which is, let's face it, is what matters. Profit is sanity, and cash is king. Then that can really move the needle. So let me just run through a quick example on this, and let's just say that through the work that you do, you increase each of these metrics by 10%. Let's just go a simple 10%. So 750 leads increased by 10% is 825 leads. A 10% increase on the conversion rate is not 70%. A lot of people think that. It's actually 66% because it's 10% of 60%.
66.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you do that, if you increase your leads by 10% and increase your conversion rate by 10%, the number of clients that you get increases to 445. Let's go 445. It's 444 and a half. Let's round it up and go 545. Sorry.
Yep.
So just by increasing the number of leads that you're getting and the conversion percentage, you increase your number of new clients by almost 100. Right. So let's go. Let's keep the existing number of clients, just for this example, because otherwise it kind of skews the numbers if you add it on there.
All other things being equal, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go that you had 700. So you had your existing clients 200, and so therefore you have a total number of clients of 745. If you increase your average dollar sale, you make that $1,320, right? Yep. And you increase your number of transactions. So rather than doing one per client, you do 1.1, just 10% more. You're now doing 820 transactions. If you do that, let me just fix that up, times 820, your revenue is now, all of a sudden, over the $1 million. All by increasing the amount of work that you get from your clients, increasing the conversion percentage and the leads percentage. And that's all really cool. And then you've got then you've increased the value of your business. You've got a 7-figure business, which is great. But, and if you just took 20% out of that, that would be 216,000. If you then increased the profit percentage, again, let's just go 10%. Again, it's 22%. I don't know.
Usually find that the profit percentage
should be high.
Increases with those numbers.
It should increase by a lot more, but I'm just being conservative.
Yeah.
In a professional service firm, the aim should be around a third as profit that the owner's taking out. I'm just being conservative with my figures.
Yeah, and you find, just in your experience with conversion rates, what do you usually find as the range and perhaps the average of conversion rates?
When people start measuring it, it's around that 60% mark.
Yep.
When we start working together and really focusing on the conversion rate, it should get up to 80-90%, especially for a law firm, because most of the time the work that we're getting is warm leads from somewhere, and so we should be able to increase that a lot higher. But we find that when we start, it's usually around the 60% mark, and it's just little tweaks that are needed to increase that conversion percentage.
I think with more paid Google ads and that sort of stuff, and people coming from that conversion rate, for most firms, I think anyone would be happy with. People would be happy with 6% conversion rate. With if you're measuring those sort of more leads from those that are not warm, that are
absolutely. Yeah, I'm using a warm lead example, but yeah, absolutely. If you're looking at internet metrics, I've actually found the work that we do, and also from the people that I work with, that those are actually going up as well. Like that, so their leads, the conversion rate, and the leads that are coming from the digital space are actually much better these days than they have been for a while. Which I think is good, and I think that shows, maybe it's 2020, maybe it's people are working from home and doing more research, but we're just finding that better at the moment. So yeah,
perhaps as well, it might depend on the industry that you're in, and how your clients in that particular industry might view lawyers, or if it's a transaction that's a lower transaction, which a value which might be a bit more of a no-brainer than those that might be a bit higher, or I'm just speculating here for everyone. Don't get too upset if you're not at like 60% right now, because I know it's hard yakka.
Yeah, look, I'm just using this as an example. That's why I'm encouraging the people who are watching to use their own figures, because if you're using your own figures, you'll see that. And 60%, whether it's 50%, 50% I would say would be what you'd want as a minimum. Otherwise, unless it's all coming from Google, that's what you'd want to see, and that's part of the work that you've got to do on just increasing that percentage. But the biggest problem I see is that people aren't tracking those numbers, and so they have no idea what that is. And I know I didn't until I learned this. I didn't track them. I had no idea, and so it's a matter of actually tracking them that I think is the real.
And they certainly don't. And they certainly don't teach you this at your the law firm sole practice management course.
Nor in the universities, not anywhere. So,
no, exactly.
It's something that you need to get more. Yeah, you need to get different advice on. So just by increasing those numbers, we've increased our profit more. We've increased it, to 238,000. Significant amount. All by, and what is not really that hard, by increasing our leads, by increasing our conversion rates. Again, if you're tracking it, you'll actually improve it so much better than otherwise. Same as average dollar sale. Most of us don't track our average dollar sale. That's really easy to work out. You go, what was your revenue divided by your number of the bills you issued, and then you got your average dollar sale. But just by focusing on these things, when you focus on these things, that's where you start to realize that. So yeah, in my experience, most people don't track these numbers. They might track one or two of those numbers, but by tracking all of them, you can really start to move the needle and shift the needle and increase the profit. I can use different examples, but at the end of the day, that's just to illustrate the power of those numbers and why those 5 key metrics are really, really.
Just for average sale, it's just revenue divided by number of bills that you've issued.
Yeah, and if you do like conveyancing or anything that uses a lot of outlays, I would take those outlays out and just do the
professional fees.
Yeah, because what happens if you do say we do conveyancing, right? And if you do all the searches that you're required to do, that can be as much as the conveyance in some situations. And so that's use up the price. And like for those people who are watching who might be personal injury lawyers, don't include your expert fees, and same with family law. Don't include the expert fees. Because that increases the revenue, but that's not really right. That's a cost. What I refer to, or what is referred to as a cost of goods sold, a COG, and so they should be taken out beforehand. I think that's the best way to do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
So these metrics, if you're not tracking them, you should start tracking them. They're not hard to do. Tracking your leads is just an Excel spreadsheet at the end of the day. Your conversion rate, then you compare what's in your Excel spreadsheet for work that's come in against the number of people that actually turned into clients. The average dollar sale, we talked about that. Number of transactions is really easy to work out. And Ian, you talked about the business legal life cycle. I came up with that concept from my own frustration with the number of transactions that I was getting from my clients. And I built that and all the products that go around that to help lawyers to get more, or actually originally it was for me to get more transactions from my existing clients. And then we made it available because that is a metric that we often miss, because lawyers, this is the nature of our practice, is that we're reactive, we're not proactive. And you and I have talked about this before. That's a problem, because when we're reacting to problems, we're not stopping them from occurring. There's so much in law that can be done to prevent problems, and it has the very nice benefit of increasing the number of transactions as well for you in business. So looking at it from the business point of view.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on that part, mate? While we're doing this?
No, not on that.
No? Cool. All right.
Got
So
my workbook too.
got your workbook. Excellent. Yep. Well, as I said, yeah, if you're watching this, for anyone who is watching, I should say, feel free to pause the video here and go and get your numbers. You know, if you're using Leap, you can get the number of transactions, the revenue, and all that stuff. That's not hard to get. And I know the other practice management softwares do the same thing. And I really encourage you to do that. And then just do a small 10% tweak and just see what the end number is to the bottom line down here. Because when you do that, you can really see the power of actually focusing on these things. And if there's anything that motivates us lawyers, it's increasing that profit at the end of the day.
It just means as well you're able to then make some more better financial decisions in the business. Make sure you can hire that next person with the comfort of knowing that there is a profit to do that, to be able to help you out with if everyone's redlining at 100% capacity. Having that extra person means that everyone's at 80% capacity instead of 100% capacity, and so less likely for turnover of staff and client happiness, all those other things as well, with just a little bit more tweak in the profit.
Yeah, absolutely, and it doesn't take a lot to move those numbers. I think personally that the biggest ones are this conversion percentage, because there's a percentage of people that are coming to you that if you can just convert them better, you can get more transactions. And that's the other one, is the number of transactions. So the people that are coming in, if you can convert more of them and then do more work for them, that's a golden way to build any sort of professional service firm, especially.
And I'm sure there's probably just perhaps the 3 things that you could do within each of these levers, I guess, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
To just increase the amount of leads by doing 3 different things and increasing the number of new clients, and looking at that sales process and modifying it, cleaning it up. Few tips and tricks, and I'm sure you've learned along the way.
Absolutely, and you know what? I think you get a 10% increase just by tracking it and just by thinking about it.
And that too then suddenly becomes you can't achieve what you can't measure, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So
You can't manage what you can't measure, or something like that. So I think that's really important. So everyone watching this, I'd really encourage you to just fill in that workbook properly and just see that power of it and start tracking those numbers. All right, so let's move back onto the second topic, which is taking back control of your time. I don't know about you, Ian, but I know when especially when I was practicing law, all day, every day, time was always the biggest suck on me actually being able to move any of these things, right? You can't focus on any of these things if you're constantly moving back and doing legal work. Time-sensitive legal work is necessary for us lawyers, but it's also something that pushes you to put aside all of the stuff that you could be doing to grow your firm. So I wanted to talk as a second topic around this, because I think it's really, really important for everyone to take back control of their time and not let clients, employees, team members, and just the legal work control you. Now, I appreciate that there are times when there is no choice. If you're handling a litigation matter and the court says that you've got to be in court at that time, that's fine. What I'm going to talk about is not a hard and fast you have to do every single time, every single moment of the day. It's got to have some flexibility in it. But I'm going to introduce the concept of a default diary, and that's on the next page of the workbook. And that's basically to get back control of your time, because all too often I see people losing control of their time. I'm sure you've experienced that, Ian.
Many days when I feel like Outlook is just controlling me.
Yeah.
Just living in Outlook all the time with emails, and I'm sure we even did a webinar on how to try and get things optimized on Outlook to get that extra. It might make 5, 10, 20, half an hour, and even maybe an hour each day, which might just give you that extra bit. But I'm sure there's in terms of techniques and so, I've never heard a lawyer complaining that they've got too much time in their hands.
Yes, it's very busy. We're always very busy doing stuff. So the best way to get control, I haven't seen that webinar, but the best way that I've found to get control of the time is to get some structure to your day and actually close your emails. So my on that point, my thing, my
Oh, you've just given every lawyer a heart attack.
I know, I get that. But close your emails. Close your emails. And so have a structure of your day. So when you've got structure, you've got certainty. Think of, when you think about where you get confidence from all different things, it's from structure. You're happy to go into a high-rise building because you know that the structure is built solidly. Even with courts, there's a structure to the way that their days are run. They have their structure so that you make sure you do things. And there's a lot of certainty that you get from structure. And I know, I've been there, that we want to move around from time to time and day to day, and putting a structure in place is how you get back control of your time at the end of the day. And the way that we do that is through a default diary. So if you go to the second page of the workbook, I've just put together a very, very basic default diary. Right? The idea of this document, though, is that you have in place what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. I strongly recommend that you put times in your day for checking emails. I have them. I have one at 8:30 in the morning. I have one at 11 a.m. in the morning and one at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. There are times when I look at my emails other times. Of course I do. But having a structured time to look at it gives you the certainty to know that you can actually do to check it and to know that you're going to get back to it. Because what happens, and we've all been there, we get stuck in our emails and then nothing ever happens. So building out a default diary, again, doesn't have to be set in stone. It's not if you're not doing this, then you're failing or anything like that. This is just a very basic default diary setup. Setting it, what I encourage people to do is put the big stuff in first, the main things that you're going to do all the time. So put in checking emails. Put in lunch. How many lawyers don't have lunch? I'm sure if we were doing this in a live room, at least half the room would put their hands up.
I now have a standing invite to myself to have a lunch break.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't have a lunch break, but it just means as well that no one can actually book a meeting in my diary. So at least that's just me time. So that no meetings can kind of be scheduled in there because I'm not available, at that time, and it's up to me whether I'm, if I need time that day to go out for lunch or take a walk or at the gym, whatever it might be, or even just catching up on a whole bunch of stuff that I needed to, or working on something, just that out time from being booked in for something else.
Yeah. And so if it's in your calendar, it's more often it's going to get done.
If it's not in the calendar, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So then, at a minimum standard, so put lunch in, put in checking your emails. Then I always recommend that everyone spends at least 4 hours a week working on their business. And you've probably heard this before, Ian, but you want to spend a minimum of 4 hours working on your business, whether that's reviewing your financials, reviewing those key metrics that we just went before, whether it's reading a good business book, or the business legal life cycle. No, just kidding. As long as it's reading, learning something, or meeting with your team, you should be spending a minimum of 4 hours a week. And I encourage everyone to put that in. Depending on whether you're a morning or afternoon person, I am a very big morning person. So I book all that stuff in earlier in the day. But if you're an afternoon person, book it in the afternoon. It's the most important stuff that you can do with your business. The most important. And booking it in will mean it actually happens. What I would say to this too, Ian, is this is a template. I would fill this in. This is what I've done. Fill this in, put the times in there. Then I go into my Outlook diary, or however, if you use Gmail, whatever you use, and then block out the time, set as a recurring meeting.
Set as a recurring meeting, yep.
The next thing is meeting times. I said, earlier that, having clients and team members controlling your time means that you're pulled in all different directions. I'm sure you felt that too, where you've got demands from here and there and everywhere, and you never know. So one of the things I did very early on when I started implementing this was I actually set client meeting times, and I'd set a afternoon block or a morning block, and I had them on different days where I had 2 or 3 hours where I would meet with clients. And having set times to do that. And I told my team, when you book me in for a meeting, these are the times. There will be exceptions where people legitimately can't do it, but it is amazing how often someone goes, "Oh, I can't do it that time," and you say, "Well, his availability is only between 2 and 4 on Monday," and they're like, "Oh, I can't do that time," and then they come back and go, "Actually, yeah, I can do that time."
Yeah.
If they legitimately can't, like shift workers or someone who can't do it, then you can modify it. But it's amazing how if you set your schedule, how people will actually come to you. So setting out meeting times, I think the next thing is actually meeting with team members. As a minimum, I think we should be meeting with our team members at least once a fortnight, at least, to just work on what they're doing in their business, putting that in there too. Now, depending on the size of the team, whether or not you as the owner do that, it's another thing. You could get other people to do those meetings and then you meet with them, because you should only do that with a maximum of 8 people. But having that time in. And then you can put in other things. So I've got clients who put in, I've got one client who puts in the whole Wednesday afternoon is time to go and spend with his kids. And the whole Friday afternoon is just blocked out. And what you find is you've got all these things in there, and then you can fill up the rest of the time with working on doing your client work. Then add up the number of hours that you do the client work for, and multiply it by your chargeable rate if you do time billing. And I would almost guarantee it. In fact, everyone I've ever done this with is still making the money that they want to make. They're just more structured than otherwise. So putting this together,
that block, it's that block time, and that's what sounds like it's really about, having that structured block time to meet with the team, have your own block time where people can't book in, and your own personal time too. I know, some lawyers like to golf on Wednesday mornings, it always baffled me, but kind of now I get it. Now I get it.
And blocking that out is the only way that it happens. Those lawyers who do that, I'm Tuesday afternoon just quietly. But Wednesday morning, like if that's when you want to do it, then book that in. And if you book it in, then it's going to happen. If you book in the important things, if you want to spend time, if you've got kids and you want to spend time with them, book it in. It may seem a bit silly to book it in. You're not booking it in their calendars. You're booking it in your own calendar so that everyone knows and respects that time. And people want you to do it. So putting a structure in place, having that structure of your day and of when you're going to do things, is so super powerful. And it works. So I'd encourage everyone who's watching this to put a structure to your day. This only goes to 4 o'clock. You can print this out again and cross out the times and put some more, put it into 5, 6 o'clock, however late you work, or however early, I know lawyers who starts at 7, 6 o'clock in the morning. My diary starts at 4 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m. most days because I deal with a lot of people in the US. So I'm doing a lot of early morning work. So you can structure around your day and when you work.
You've done a full day already.
Yeah, but I choose to do that. So I enjoy it. So building out the default diary gives you back control of your time, and having those 4 hours minimum to work on these key metrics is really, really helps move the needle in your business. And it's amazing how just spending those 4 hours, having that time set aside, actually helps move the needle on the business going forward.
Yep.
Do you got any other questions on that before I move on to the last topic?
No, I think it's great.
Great, cool. All right, so the last one, you'll see that the last page is, some notes pages, is this leveraging your team, the S-curve of learning. So I want to talk about that, and I want to start by talking about delegating, don't abdicate. So when you want to build any sort of team, any sort of business, from 6 to 7 figures, or any sort of thing, you need to have a team involved, and you need to bring people in. And all too often, I see professional services, not just lawyers, plenty of other professional services, plenty of other business owners, really, they abdicate, they don't delegate. And it's a really important difference. Abdicating is you get some work in and you just say, here, you take it and you do it. And that can work if it's a bit of work and you've got a senior lawyer with heaps of experience. Perfect. You can abdicate the work. That's fine. But in most situations, you want to delegate. You want to give them the work. You want to and them to do the work, so that they're coming back to you and you're checking and you're making sure that they understand what you want to do. Because what you want from your clients, and probably the key way that you increase that number of transactions, and we've talked about this before, is become the trusted advisor for your client. So Ian, you may have heard this story before, but I'm just going to tell this quick story about the importance of a trusted advisor relationship and how it can really damage a business by not having it. So I acted for a client. I'm based in Brisbane. I don't think we mentioned that before, but I acted for a client up here who ran a franchise, a coffee van franchise. So those are the coffee vans that go to different industrial sites, and you have a set order, and they go and they make your coffee, and then they make the coffee for the office, and they all the people in the business, and they go around and they do 10 different sites, and they sell hundreds of coffees every day. This client was a franchisor of that business. So he had coffee franchisees, these vans driving all around Australia. He got sued for misrepresentation and various other things by 2 franchisees. And he had gone to a trial on one case, and then he'd lost really badly. Like, we're talking $200,000 badly in court. He had the next trial, which was the same set of lawyers on the other side, the same judge, and the same set of facts the next week. And he's still friends with, but he used to be a neighbor of one of my uncles. And they were at a barbecue, and they were talking about this case, talking about different things. And he said, I've lost this case really badly. I've got this next one next week. I'm going to lose it really badly too. So I've consented to judgment there, but it's okay. I don't have to worry about paying them because I'm just going to go bankrupt. I told my lawyer I was going to go bankrupt, and I won't have to pay the debt. And they said, oh yeah, we're just going to go bankrupt, and we're not going to pay the debt. And my uncle, he's a businessman, or was, he's now retired, but he said, that doesn't sound right. Why don't you go and see my nephew who runs a local law firm and have a chat to him? Because maybe you haven't thought about everything all the way through. Now, I don't normally take meetings on a Monday morning as per my default diary that I went through before. It was, but when your uncle rings you and says, can you please take this meeting with this friend of mine, you do it, right? And I'm so glad that I did. Because I sat him down and he told me that story. There was probably a few more superlatives in there, but he wasn't going to have to pay these people because he was going to go bankrupt. And he said, I spoke to my lawyer, who was the litigation lawyer, and they go, oh, okay, no worries. Okay, just go bankrupt. You just go to AFSA, or actually it was probably ITSA back then, previously, and you can go bankrupt. And I said, okay, well, did they explain what bankruptcy means? He goes, oh no, I just told them that's what I was going to do, and so they said this is how you go and do it. And I said, okay, well, do you understand what bankruptcy means? And he said, no. Well, sorry, he said yes, and he said it just means I don't have to pay the debts. And I said, okay, so by this time he was up for about 650,000 when you factor in lawyers' fees and all the rest of it. And I said, so, I pulled out my notepaper, my yellow notepaper, and I said, tell me what you own. Let's do a simple assets and liability structure. And he goes, oh, I own in my own name. So he'd been sued. I should go back. He'd been sued in his company and personally, and they'd both lost for misrepresentation. And
he's on the hook personally.
He's on the hook personally.
And he's got lots of assets.
Of course he does. So he's got his own house. Unencumbered. He's got the property that the business is operated from. Unencumbered. He owns an investment property. Now that's fully leveraged, but he owns the business in a company, but he owns the shares. And it's a pretty valuable company.
So basically the company's exposed as well.
Yeah.
All the assets of the company.
Everything that he owns is exposed. And he owned another property in New South Wales as well. Had he just gone bankrupt, you know what would have happened. Everyone on this call knows what would have happened. The people that had sued him, they would have got paid out in full. The bankruptcy trustee would have got paid out in full, and whatever was left over would be what he got. The look of horror on his face,
and then a law cover claim.
Yeah, the look of horror on his face and his wife's face when they realised what they had done. Or what they would have lost. You know those images. I don't know whether you have those in, but I have those images in my head where I can recall very vividly the look on their faces. The lawyer on the other side was just engaged in the litigation. I know the lawyer, right? And he had the attitude of, I'm just engaged to the litigation. I'm not engaged to do anything else. Would he have actually gone bankrupt? Probably not. Someone else probably would have stopped him at the time. But the point is, that guy is now a client of mine for life. He rings me for everything. He doesn't make a move. His wife made him promise that they would not make any strategic business decision without talking to me first. I am their trusted advisor because I ask questions. And I continue to ask questions. The more questions you ask, the more that you get. And that comes back to the delegate, don't abdicate, because we've got to find out all this information and become that trusted advisor. And unless you're owning a large firm with lots of senior lawyers, you can't abdicate the work. You can't abdicate the client relationships. You just got to delegate the work and make sure that you control it. Because the clients in law, it's all about that trusted advisor relationship. They come to you for you. Even if they come off the internet, they're not coming to you for your brand. Like they might initially see that, but they want to deal with you. Now, and I think this is true for all types of law. They're coming to you for you. They're not coming to you for necessarily what you've got. That might be initially how they find you. You've got to become the trusted advisor, because it's easier to sell once to a client than to do multiple transactions. And this becomes really, really important in the context of team members and the delegate, don't abdicate, because if your team members aren't engaged and aren't willing to do the work, then they're not going to give the right advice and you're going to start losing clients. And for a long time, I struggled with this concept of you bring in team members, you bring in lawyers, and they would do work. They'd be great for a couple of years. And they'd be really good. They'd talk to you. You didn't abdicate the work. They'd talk to you. Then all of a sudden they'd start to get bored. And at the beginning I talked about that statistic about the 81% of people are bored in legal jobs. And I read this really awesome book, and it's called How to Build an A-Team by Whitney Johnson. She's an American novel, and she introduced this concept of the S curve of learning. And the S curve of learning, essentially what it says is that when someone starts within your business, they're all super excited. They're inexperienced. They don't know what they don't know what they're doing, whether they're a junior or even someone more senior. And it generally takes 6 months to a year for them to learn what you do, how you do it, all the rest of that. So this isn't necessarily to scale, but they're in this inexperienced stage. And that's really scary for them. It's really scary. And if you're just abdicating work to them, then you're not going to have happy clients at the end of the day. You're just simply not. They need you to really delegate it and show them what to do for a good 6 to 12 months while they're in that inexperienced section. Then what happens is when they start to hit their stride, they start to get really excited. They're learning new stuff. They're feeling more confident. You're feeling more confident in them, and they go through this S curve. And this I said before, it's not really to scale. This is like 3 to 4 years generally. And this is where the temptation comes to abdicate and not delegate, because you're getting really excited. They're getting really great stuff from you. They're doing good work, and you get this temptation that you just want to start to let them do their own thing. Which is, you can let them more and more do their own thing, but you want to be really careful that you don't just abdicate the work, because what happens is after about 3 or 4 years of engagement, they start to reach mastery. And what happens is they start to plateau. They're not learning new things. Life isn't as exciting as it once was. And they hit this plateau. And they're not learning. You're not learning. And often, as this has happened, there's much more abdication than delegation. You're thinking that everything's going well. I've fallen into this trap myself. I will own it 100%. And then what happens? They plateau and they get bored. And they either fall off the cliff and leave, muck something up and you get sued, or if you're live to the fact that after that period of time, say 4, 5, 6 years, you got to give them a new challenge. You got to start to do new work, and they start again down here. If you don't do that, then you don't have happy clients, or you don't have happy team members, which means you don't have happy clients, and you don't build that trusted advisor relationship. So I wanted to talk about this, and I put the S curve into the workbook there, because I think it's a really powerful thing. And what I would encourage people to do, the people watching this and yourself, Ian, have a think about your team members. From that explanation I've given to you, where are they within here? If you've got team members who have been with you 3 or 4 years and they're highly engaged, but they're starting to know it all, it's a really scary time. They start to cross this into mastery. And if they're not given something new, some new challenge, then they're going to just do all the work themselves and they're going to get bored. You see it.
Disengage.
Yeah, see it all the time. Think about like a highly transactional thing, like a conveyancer. A conveyancer, yeah, they learn all this stuff and then they get here, and then if they're not learning new stuff, then they fall off the precipice. And if you want to leverage your team to build those trusted advisor relationships and to really move that, this is what helps move the needle back to the key metrics that we talked about earlier. Being live to this is really, really important. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, I'd encourage everyone for your team, pause the video now or take this away and think about it. Mark, put a cross on here. And if you really want to do something that'll challenge you, is get a copy of the book, explain to your team members what this actually means, and ask them where they think they fall. I've done that many times, and it's amazing how far apart people are on how engaged they think they are. Just having that, again, it's like measuring your metrics. Just having the conversation around this with your team members. When we first did that, they were like, "Oh wow, I hadn't really thought about that." And we do it every year or so. Where do you think you are? And we consider where we think they are. And
you can see how far where's the expectation gap, or what you think and where they think they are might be completely different.
That's right. So there's a lot of things to do in this workbook. I encourage everyone who's watching this to really get in and do them, because these are really valuable techniques. They've worked for me. They've worked for plenty of other business owners, and they will really help to help give you a plan of what to do in the future. So as Ian said, I do coaching and consulting, that type of work. So what we do is we help people get back control of their time. We do that with a customized plan, and then we work out the plan of what to do next together. So if anyone's watching this wants to have a chat to me, this is on the workbook as well. There's a 5 keys webinar. If you go to that link, which is on the workbook too, happy to have a chat. I've also included here, if you go to that website, it takes you to another page where it's actually got my free course about how to build your default diary. So you can actually, it's much more in depth than what I went through before, but it's a free online tutorial about how to actually build out that default diary, because I think it's really, really important, something that people should definitely do as a bare minimum from everything we've talked about today.
I think people definitely realize, especially as I was talking before, realize and start to make some block time and stuff, and even if it's just like block time for some personal time, just make some allow yourself to take some personal time, not just work from 8 till whenever 8 till 8, and not even take a break. Everybody else can take breaks and all the rest, but business owners, I'm sure, law firm owners probably don't feel like they can take a break.
Yep.
Just because they want to try and stay on top of their emails, or they have a meeting and then they have an hour meeting and they come back and there's 50 emails to go through.
That's right.
And of course everyone's there waiting when you get back to talk about all their matters that they need to deal with as well. Just in terms of the when you were talking about abdication and delegation, in terms of I know a lot of law firm owners have difficulty letting go, not being at least copied in on correspondence. So in terms of delegating, obviously, that sort of work, and then I know a lot of law firm owners find it difficult once they have received instructions on a matter, then to be able to have the time to then delegate to somebody else, knowing full well that, and also if the correspondence still comes through them, the amount of clients that hit the reply button instead of the reply all button, means that it's back on you have to deal with it, not not the team. I know a lot of people find that difficult. Is that something you found too, and the difference how people delegate?
Absolutely. So look, at the end of the day, people have to decide how many emails they want to receive
and how many conference calls they want to be on.
Exactly. Because you've got to, once you do that default diary task, you're going to see how much free time you've actually got to get your work done. Being copied to emails, I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. We talk to our team about having essentially type 1 and type 2 correspondence. So I haven't talked about this in here, but just very briefly, type 1 correspondence is the stuff that is run of the mill that can be retracted if it needs to be, which is like quick emails, organizing stuff. Type 2 is the stuff that you can't change. That are maybe advices. Maybe it's a letter to another lawyer. Maybe it's a lot of letters to lawyers are non-controversial. But then there are ones that are, like, especially if you're engaging in litigation by correspondence, which I don't recommend. But like if you're doing that, those type 2 correspondence, what I'd say, and I don't do this too much myself anymore, but my business partner in the law firm, he does this. He's the chief operations officer of our firm. Is he gets it sent to him first, reviews it, and then they send it out and aren't copied to it. Because otherwise your inbox just fills up with hundreds of emails, thousands of emails if you're not careful about it. And that's another reason why, and there's other techniques around doing this, another reason why to have your emails blocked off to only look at it 3 times a day. Because then you're focused on just, okay, do I need to see that email? No, I can just delete that email, delete that email, delete that email. I have seen other lawyers who have set up rules. So where they're copied to an email, that goes into a certain folder so that when they're reviewing their emails, they have a block time just to review those emails. Look, you've got to find what works for you. There's no one, there's a very important thing here. There's no one solution for everyone. You've got to find what works for you and for your comfort zone and for your team as well. I have clients whose team wants them there all the time. They want them there to answer questions, and that's fine. There's got to be a point where you kind of cut the umbilical cord a little bit. There's nuances, that there's discussions that you've got to have around them, but the education around what's a type 1 kind of correspondence and a type 2 correspondence is really, really important. It's the same as a telephone call. At the end of the day, if they're picking up the phone and calling someone, that's like sending a letter without you being on there. And you've got to be comfortable with that. You've got to be comfortable with your team. It can be hard to let go. Depending on the way you're structured, you might be liable for what happens. But and that's fine. But you can't leverage or scale a business if you're doing everything. If you're seeing and you're watching everything.
At least if you've got that block time to go through and deal with those emails, at least, and I've got these great little quick steps, like shift control 1 will put it into no action required. So just scrolling down the list, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. But if you're wanting to continue to be seen as the trusted advisor, if you're starting to be dropped off communication, then I suppose there's some tips and tricks from your perspective of how to still be that trusted advisor, but not perhaps CC'd on all correspondence. And maybe some law firm owners might consider that they might think that they are still the trusted advisor just because they're CC'd on correspondence, but it's probably not the case.
And I think what you need to do first is you actually need to work out what you want and where you want to go, right? So in any coach worth their salt, any person who's advising that's worth anything will first sit down and they'll help you to decide where it is that you want to go. Now, it's not necessarily that you have to decide, I'm 41. I don't need to decide today what I'm going to be doing in when I'm 82, right? Hopefully sitting on the beach somewhere. But I don't need to decide that now. What I need to decide is, say, in the next 2 to 3 years, as a minimum, where I want to be, and then work out how you're going to get there, knowing that it might change as you go. But until you know what you actually want, no one can help you to get there, because you just can't get there if you don't know where you're going, right? You got no idea how you're going to get there. And so you got to have a goal in place, knowing that it might change. Might have, like, if you'd asked me 10 years ago when I started my law firm, I would have said, if you had told me that I'd be sitting here doing webinars about how to run a law firm, I would have called you crazy. But my goals have changed. If you told me I'd write a book, you and I have talked about this before, that it was my coach that said to me when I first started working with him, you're going to write a book one day. And I said, you're crazy. What lawyer writes a book? And then I came up, this concept of the life cycle hit me.
Who'd read a book written by a lawyer?
That's right. That's right.
Unless you're Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, that's right. So your goals change, but it's about having a goal and then working to how you get there. And the question about that delegation, how much you want to delegate and abdicate, and how much you want to be involved and how much you want to see, comes down to the type of business you want. If you want a 7-figure law firm or professional service firm, it is very, very difficult to do that, seeing every single email that goes in and out of the business. just, I've never heard of anyone who's actually been able to do it properly. Like they're actually reviewing emails and doing work and doing all the business stuff at the same time. Maybe the right thing to do is to employ a business manager. If you want to be that lawyer doing all that work, maybe you just need someone to actually run the business for you.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. If what you want to be as a lawyer. Personally, I didn't want that anymore. So I started doing all those other tasks and moved away from doing the legal work. But both ways are right, depending on what you want. And so for those watching, the first step, whether you talk to me or talk to someone else, is to work out where you're going and what you're doing. And if you do that, then you can get the right advice about moving forward.
And having that sort of, I know, speaking to a lot of law firm owners, they find a very big struggle between being, the chief technical officer, I guess you would call it, the technician, and they're probably still the best lawyer in their firm, but they're also, their highest and best use perhaps with the business is also being the face of the business and having, calls with potential clients or referral partners or whatever that might be, selling, being involved in the sales process or having sales calls, doing that and running the practice and managing staff and building building a brand, etc. And then also taking, time for themselves as well. I know that a lot struggle with managing that because each of those can be a full-time job in and of itself. So,
but you can't, and just to be really, really clear on my point here, you can't do all of that stuff, and what's right for you may not be right for anyone else watching here, and you need to figure that out first, what you actually want. That's what I would encourage everyone to do. But that's not the purpose of this one. Maybe we should do another one on working out what you want and setting your vision for the future. Maybe we could do one of those for your watchers, clients.
Absolutely. Yeah. And moving from basically being almost like a legal consultant to a business owner as well is a big shift. And probably from those numbers that you were talking about before, it probably does involve a bit of a shift. From running that sort of 6-figure business to a 7-figure business, because if you're doing it on your own, very difficult to, I think, not at least have some sort of step out and either have someone that either runs the practice or at least assists you with managing staff or managing the practice or both, as well as maybe even being, hiring a lawyer that's better than you. At the technical, stuff, if your highest and best use is, or you really enjoy the actual business of the law rather than the law itself and the application of the advice, and being, someone that can kind of dip in and dip out when they need to.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much for your time today. I know you're, was that the last slide there?
Oh, the last slide was just questions, but obviously you and I have been talking as we're going.
We moved on to the questions.
I will just say that if anyone does have any questions and they want anything specific, feel free to email me at the lifecycle@jeremystretton.com email address. A few of us monitor that, but if you send an email there, I'll get it and I'll respond to you straight away. Or if you want to have a chat, go to that web page and I'll happily go through anything with you. One thing I will ask though is to send me a copy of your workbook so that I can start to see things. So please fill it out. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But I'd really encourage you to do that because there's lots of good information in there.
Well, we're definitely going to do that workbook now and have a look and go over the weekend, seeing what levers we can work on. But as I said before, I'm sure you've just looking at the numbers and seeing what the numbers do when they move 5 or 10%. Obviously there's some proven strategies of how to concentrate on those areas to at least bring in those, because it's not just a case of going, oh, we need to focus on our conversion rate. There's a reason. There'll be reasons why the conversion is not at the rate where you need it to be, and what are the things that you need to start to. How are you doing these things, and are you doing this? Are you not doing that? And probably some really, really simple stuff might might make a change straight away, which I'm sure after running your firm and going through this and teaching others too, that it's probably I can imagine there's probably a few things that if you just do three of these sort of things, that they'll probably move things straight along pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much, Jeremy, for your time today. I know I definitely got a lot out of it, and I'll no doubt thinking about it later on or during the course of today and over the weekend. And we're going to go away and do some more of these figures for the workbook too. And
yeah, cool.
And I'm going to build a default diary today without fail, and then I'll let you know how it goes.
Absolutely. Send me a copy of it.
I will do. Thanks so much, Jeremy, for your time today, and appreciate it. I hope everyone got a lot out of it, and we'll send you the recording pretty soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.